The message arrived on a Tuesday morning. Admiral John Miller was reviewing reports in his office at the Space Defense Initiative headquarters when his screen flashed red. He looked up, his coffee forgotten as the encrypted transmission appeared. "This is Fleet Commander Sarthul of the Galactic Empire. Your planet is now under our jurisdiction. You have 30 Earth days to surrender and prepare for integration." John stared at the screen. After years of searching the stars for alien life, they had found humanity instead. Within hours, strange ships appeared in Earth's orbit. They were massive, like floating cities, with designs unlike anything humans had built. World leaders gathered at the United Nations for an emergency meeting, while military forces worldwide went on high alert. Dr. Alice Wright watched the news from her laboratory deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. She pushed her glasses up and turned to her team of scientists. "It's happening sooner than we expected," she said quietly. "Continue the calibrations. We might need Project Singularity after all." Her assistant nodded silently and returned to the strange device in the center of the lab, a simple console with a single red button protected by layers of security. In space, Captain Sam Collins and the crew of the U.S. Frontier watched as more alien ships entered Earth's orbit. The Frontier was humanity's first true spacecraft, designed for deep space exploration. But against the alien armada, it seemed tiny and fragile. "Orders, Captain?" asked Lieutenant Kelly Martinez from the weapons station. Sam adjusted his uniform. "We observe and maintain position. Weapons hot, but do not engage unless fired upon." A smaller alien craft broke from the fleet and approached the Frontier. Sam ordered communication channels open. "Human vessel," came the transmission. "You will power down your primitive weapons systems and prepare to be boarded for inspection." Sam straightened in his command chair. "This is Captain Sam Collins of the United Earth Vessel Frontier. We are a sovereign craft in Earth space. We will not power down or submit to boarding." There was silence then. "Your defiance is noted, human. Consider this a demonstration of our superiority." Before Sam could respond, energy pulses shot from the alien craft, bypassing the Frontier completely. Behind them, 3 military satellites silently went dark, disabled without apparent damage. "They could have destroyed us," whispered Kelly. "They're toying with us." At the United Nations, images of the disabled satellites played on large screens as representatives from every nation argued about how to respond. The American president stood to address the assembly. "We've received demands from the alien force calling itself the Galactic Empire. They want our complete surrender and integration into their system. They've given us 30 days. Panic spread through the room until the Secretary General called for order. In a private room adjacent to the main chamber, Dr. Alice Wright met with key world leaders. Her expression was grave as she laid out options. "Their technology is centuries beyond ours," she explained. "Conventional warfare would be suicide." She paused. "However, we may have an alternative." "Project Singularity," said the Russian president. "Is it operational?" Alice adjusted her glasses. "Theoretically, yes. But we've never tested it. The principles are sound, but the consequences are uncertain." "And if we do nothing?" asked the Chinese premier. "Based on the transmissions we intercepted, the Empire has conquered thousands of worlds. Most were simply absorbed. Those that resisted were—" Alice didn't finish the sentence. Back in orbit, Sam Collins received new orders. The Frontier was to fall back to lunar orbit and await reinforcement from Earth's limited space fleet. As the Frontier changed course, Sam watched more Imperial ships arriving. Their massive forms blocked the stars like artificial planets. One particularly large vessel dwarfed all others, the Imperial flagship. "They're positioning for something," Sam told his crew. "Tactical analysis suggests they could strike anywhere on Earth within minutes." On the alien flagship, Supreme Commander Zex Talon watched Earth's blue sphere with contempt. "Another primitive world to add to our collection," he said to his officers. "Their resistance will be brief and educational for them." One officer, Kovacs, looked uncertain. "Supreme Commander, Our preliminary data suggests unusual patterns in human behavior. They are more adaptable than typical species at this development stage. Zextilon laughed. All species believe they are special before they meet the Empire. Prepare the first demonstration strike. Let's show them what real power looks like. As night fell across North America, residents of major cities looked up to see new stars in the sky, the lights of an armada that had come not in peace but with demands. Jack Peterson drove his truck through 3 security checkpoints before reaching the entrance to the vault. Rain pounded against the windshield as guards checked his credentials. Lightning flashed, illuminating the mountains around him. "Good to see you again, Mr. Peterson," said the guard, handing back his ID. "Dr. Wright is waiting for you." Jack nodded. 6 months ago, he had been leading Special Forces missions in remote war zones. Now he guarded the most important scientific project in human history. He parked and walked through scanner after scanner until he reached the heart of the facility. Dr. Alice Wright looked up from her computer when he entered the lab. Dark circles underlined her eyes, evidence of sleepless nights since the aliens arrived. "Our new security chief," she said, standing to shake his hand. "Your record is impressive. We need someone like you now more than ever." Jack looked around the circular room filled with equipment he didn't understand. In the center stood a simple metal console with a red button protected under a clear case. "That's it?" he asked. "That's Project Singularity." Alice smiled slightly. Sometimes the simplest interface hides the most complex technology. She led him through the facility, introducing him to the team of 20 scientists who had worked in secret for 5 years. They passed rooms filled with quantum computers, strange materials, and diagrams Jack couldn't begin to comprehend. "What exactly does the button do?" Jack asked finally. Alice paused. "It doesn't create a weapon. It creates a correction." Before she could explain further, alarms blared. They rushed back to the main lab where screens showed live footage from space. The Empire had destroyed an uninhabited island in the Pacific Ocean, vaporizing it completely as a demonstration. In Washington, D.C., Lisa Garrett sat across from the alien representative who had been permitted to land for negotiations. The being stood 7 feet tall with gray-blue skin and 4 arms. It called itself Ambassador Vril. "Your demonstration was unnecessary," Lisa said calmly. "We understand your power." Vril's mouth formed what might have been a smile. "Do you? Then you understand resistance is pointless. The Empire spans galaxies. Your planet is nothing." "We want peace," Lisa insisted. "Surely there's room for cooperation instead of surrender." "The Empire does not cooperate. It rules." Vril placed a device on the table. "These are our terms. Study them. You have 27 days remaining." After Vril left, Lisa examined the device. It projected images of human cities transformed with alien technology, humans working in what appeared to be labor camps, and Earth's resources being harvested. This wasn't integration. It was conquest. On the Imperial flagship, Kavex studied human communications intercepted by their systems. Unlike his fellow officers who dismissed humans as primitives, he saw something concerning in their transmissions. "Supreme Commander," he said, approaching Zextalon on the bridge, "I've identified unusual patterns in human defense preparations." Zextalon barely looked at him. What concerns could primitives possibly present? "They're adapting too quickly to our technology. And there are transmissions referring to something called singularity that our systems cannot decode." The Supreme Commander laughed. "Their weapons are toys compared to ours. Their most advanced ship, this Frontier, would be considered obsolete by our standards 1,000 years ago." Kavex persisted. "In their history, humans have repeatedly overcome superior forces through unexpected methods. I recommend caution." "Your concern is noted and dismissed," Zextalon said. "Prepare the next demonstration. We'll target one of their military bases this time." Back at the vault, Alice took Jack to a secure room behind a heavy door. Inside was a glass case containing what looked like a fragment of ancient stone covered in symbols unlike any human language. 5 years ago, we found this on Mars, Alice explained. It predates human civilization. The technology behind Project Singularity isn't entirely ours. We reversed engineered it from this. Jack stared at the artifact. You're saying we're using alien technology to fight aliens? Alice shook her head. Not exactly. Whatever civilization created this existed long before the Empire. The symbols suggest they faced a similar threat and developed a defense. She touched the case gently. We believe they left this for us to find. A gift from one species to another. Jack looked back toward the room with the button. And you're sure it will work? No, Alice admitted. We're not sure of anything. But it's the only chance we have. The facility shook suddenly as somewhere far above, the Empire began its next demonstration. Supreme Commander Zex Talon stood on the observation deck of his flagship. Below him, hundreds of alien officers from different species worked at control stations. All had pledged loyalty to the Empire. All had helped conquer countless worlds. Display the human military response, he ordered. A three-dimensional map appeared, showing Earth's defenses mobilizing. Missiles were being prepared. Fighter jets scrambled. Naval vessels moved into strategic positions. Zex Talon laughed at their efforts. Primitive weapons, he said to the gathered War Council. They cannot even leave their atmosphere effectively, yet they prepare to fight us. General Drex, a reptilian commander with battle scars across his scales, nodded in agreement. We have conquered worlds far more advanced than this. Their resistance will be brief. Only Kovacs looked troubled. Supreme Commander, I have studied their history. These humans fight with unusual determination when cornered. Zex Talon waved a dismissive hand. Your concerns grow tiresome, intelligence officer. The demonstration strike on their military base was successful. No human weapons even touched our ships. The targets are not fighting at full capacity, Kovacs insisted. They appear to be waiting for something. The Supreme Commander turned to face the window, watching Earth's blue sphere. They wait for their inevitable defeat. Prepare the invasion fleet. We will begin landing troops in 3 days. On Earth, Lisa Garrett presented the alien terms to the United Nations Security Council. The room fell silent as the holographic images showed Earth's future under imperial rule. This isn't negotiation, said the French representative. It's surrender or destruction. Lisa nodded grimly. Ambassador Vril made it clear, the Empire doesn't make compromises. The American president looked to the military advisors. What are our options? Admiral Miller stepped forward. Conventional defense would be suicide. Their technology is centuries beyond ours. Even our nuclear arsenal would likely be neutralized before reaching their ships. Then what do we do? Demanded the Chinese premier. The president exchanged glances with Admiral Miller before speaking. There is one option we haven't discussed publicly. Project Singularity. Gasps and murmurs filled the room. I thought that was theoretical, said the Russian president. Not anymore, the American president replied. Dr. Wright and her team have made significant progress. It may be our only hope. In space, the U.S. frontier drifted behind the moon, hidden from the main Imperial fleet. Captain Sam Collins studied the sensor readings with growing concern. More ships arriving by the hour, he reported to his crew. They're assembling an invasion force. Kelly Martinez looked up from her station. We've decoded some of their communications. They're planning to land troops in 3 days. Sam's face hardened. Send this information to Earth Command immediately. At the vault, Jack Peterson watched as Dr. Wright and her team worked frantically on final calibrations. The facility had been placed on highest alert, with additional guards at every entrance. What happens when we press the button? Jack asked Alice during a brief break. She rubbed her tired eyes. The universe exists in a delicate quantum balance. Every particle has a natural state. The Empire's technology disrupts that balance. I don't understand, Jack admitted. Alice tried to explain in simpler terms. Think of reality like a pond. When you throw a stone in, it creates ripples that eventually settle. The Empire's technology is like constantly throwing stones, never allowing the water to become still. And the button. It doesn't create destruction. It allows the universe to restore its natural balance. She paused. At least, that's the theory. Jack looked skeptical. How can you be sure it won't affect humans too? The Martian artifact contains specific quantum signatures. Humans and Earth life match those signatures. The Empire doesn't. She looked at the button. It's like an immune system recognizing what belongs and what doesn't. Their conversation was interrupted when alarms blared again. On the main screen, they watched as Imperial ships fired on a military base in the Pacific. The destruction was complete in seconds. They're getting impatient, Alice said quietly. We're running out of time. In orbit, K-Vex continued his analysis despite his commander's dismissal. Something about human behavior didn't match patterns seen on other conquered worlds. They weren't just fighting or surrendering. They were preparing something specific. He zoomed in on various locations around the planet, searching for unusual energy signatures. For a moment, he detected something strange in the Rocky Mountains, but it disappeared too quickly to track. What are you hiding? He whispered to the image of Earth on his screen. The invasion began without warning. 3 days earlier than announced, Imperial ships descended through Earth's atmosphere. The night sky lit up with the glow of hundreds of alien vessels breaking through the clouds. Admiral Miller was awakened by urgent calls. He rushed to the command center, still buttoning his uniform. They're hitting every major city simultaneously, reported his assistant. New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, all under attack. The screen showed scenes of destruction. Precision strikes hit military bases first. Communication networks failed one by one. The carefully planned human defense crumbled within the first hour. Get me the president, Miller ordered. The president appeared on screen from the emergency bunker deep beneath the White House. His face was grim. Mr. President, they've begun full-scale invasion. Our defenses won't hold. There was a brief silence. How long until Project Singularity is ready? Dr. Wright reports they need 3 more hours for final calibrations. The president closed his eyes briefly. We may not have 3 hours. The Pentagon is already gone. As they spoke, the bunker shook from nearby impacts. Sir, Miller said quietly, I recommend authorizing final protocol. The president nodded slowly. Authorization granted. May God help us all. In space, the U.S. frontier emerged from behind the moon, flying directly into chaos. Captain Sam Collins watched in horror as Imperial dropships descended toward Earth like a swarm of insects. We need to buy time, he told his crew. Target the transport vessels only. The frontier fired its experimental weapons, managing to disable 2 Imperial transports before enemy fighters noticed them. Within moments, they were surrounded. Evasive maneuvers, Sam ordered. The ship twisted and turned, avoiding enemy fire with skill born of desperation. Lieutenant Kelly Martinez shouted over the chaos. Captain, they're targeting the vault. Sam's blood ran cold. How do they know about it? Unknown, sir, but 3 heavy attack ships are heading directly for the Rocky Mountains. Sam made a quick decision. All power to engines. We're intercepting those ships. At the vault, Jack Peterson organized the security teams as alarms blared throughout the facility. The mountain above them shook from repeated impacts. They know we're here, he told Alice. We have attack ships inbound. Alice didn't look up from her work. We need more time. The calibrations aren't complete. Jack checked his weapon. I'll get you that time. He led his security team to the surface entrance, where they set up defensive positions behind reinforced barriers. The mountainside glowed red as Imperial ships approached, firing energy weapons that melted rock and metal alike. Hold your positions, Jack shouted as the first alien troops landed. They were tall, armored figures with weapons that fired pulses of blue energy. The human defenders fought bravely, but they were overwhelmed by superior technology. Jack watched his team fall one by one. He retreated inside, sealing heavy doors behind him. "We can't stop them," he reported to Alice over the communication system as he fell back through the facility. "We need to evacuate." "No time," Alice replied. "The President has authorized final protocol. We must complete the calibrations." In Washington, D.C., Lisa Garrett helped evacuate civilians as Imperial troops marched through the burning city. The White House was gone. The Capitol building lay in ruins. Smoke filled the air. "This way," she shouted, leading a group of survivors toward underground tunnels. Above them, alien ships continued their relentless bombardment. Her secure phone buzzed with a message from Admiral Miller. "Fine ale Piero Tove COO authorized." Lisa knew what that meant. Project Singularity would be activated, ready or not. On the Imperial flagship, Kvex rushed to the command deck. "Supreme Commander, we've located an unusual energy signature in the mountains. Our forces are meeting unexpected resistance there." For the first time, Zex Talon looked interested. "What kind of facility?" "Unknown, but the energy readings match nothing we've seen on this planet. I believe it's their secret weapon." Zex Talon smiled cruelly. "Direct all nearby forces to that location. Whatever they're hiding, destroy it." In the vault's main lab, Alice worked frantically as the facility shook around her. Chunks of ceiling fell. Power fluctuated. The countdown on her screen showed less than 5 minutes until the button could be activated. Jack burst into the room, bleeding from a wound on his arm. "They're inside the facility. We have minutes at most." Alice looked up at the failing systems, then back at the button. "That's all we need." Alice Wright's fingers flew across the control panel as warning lights flashed around her. The vault's last defensive doors groaned under repeated impacts. Jack reloaded his weapon with shaking hands. "How much longer?" he asked. 2 minutes, Alice replied without looking up. "The quantum field needs to stabilize." Another explosion rocked the facility. Dust fell from the ceiling as power flickered. Emergency lights cast eerie red shadows across the room. "We don't have 2 minutes," Jack said, moving toward the main entrance. "I'll try to slow them down." Alice finally looked up. "Jack, that's suicide." He gave her a small smile. "Just be ready to press that button." In the corridor outside, Jack could hear the aliens approaching. Their heavy footsteps echoed through the facility. He took position behind an overturned metal desk and waited. The blast door at the end of the hall finally gave way. Through the smoke, tall armored figures appeared. Their helmets had no visible eyes, just smooth reflective surfaces. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. Jack fired, hitting the first alien in the chest. It stumbled but didn't fall. The others returned fire, sending blue energy bolts that melted chunks of wall and floor. Jack ducked, feeling the heat pass inches above his head. In the main lab, Alice watched the countdown. 90 seconds remaining. On the monitor, she could see Imperial troops landing all across Earth. Cities burning. People running in terror. The president's bunker had gone silent. The U.S. frontier was surrounded by enemy fighters. "Come on," she whispered to the computer. "Faster." On the Imperial flagship, Zex Talon received reports of the attack on the mountain facility. "Have they breached the inner chambers?" "Yes, Supreme Commander," replied an officer. "Our troops are encountering resistance, but advancing steadily." Kvex studied the energy readings from the facility with growing concern. "Supreme Commander, the unknown energy source is growing stronger. I recommend immediate withdrawal of our forces." Zex Talon laughed. "Withdrawal? When victory is moments away. Your caution has become cowardice, intelligence officer." "The readings match nothing in our records," Kvex insisted. "This could be." "Enough." Zex Talon silenced him with a gesture. "Once we capture this facility, the human resistance will end. Then you can study their primitive technology all you wish. Back in the corridor, Jack retreated step by step toward the main lab. The aliens advanced methodically, their superior weapons tearing through his cover. A bolt grazed his leg, and he fell with a cry of pain. The lead alien approached, weapon aimed at Jack's chest. It spoke in a mechanical voice that somehow translated to English. "Where is the device?" Jack managed a defiant smile. "What device?" The alien struck him with the weapon, knocking him back. "The quantum device. Our scans detected it." "I don't know what you're talking about," Jack said, tasting blood in his mouth. In the lab, Alice watched the countdown reach 30 seconds. The door behind her was the last barrier between the aliens and Project Singularity. She removed the protective case from the red button and placed her hand over it. The facility shook again as something heavy crashed against the final door. Metal bent inward from tremendous force. Alice glanced at the security screen and saw Jack lying wounded in the corridor, surrounded by aliens. 20 seconds, the computer announced. Outside the vault, around the world, and in orbit, the Imperial forces celebrated their imminent victory. Cities fell. Military resistance crumbled. Humanity faced its darkest hour. Supreme Commander Zex Telon opened a channel to all Imperial ships. "The conquest of Earth is nearly complete. Prepare for full occupation." Only K-Vex remained troubled, still studying the strange energy readings from the mountain facility. The final door to the lab burst open. 3 alien soldiers entered, weapons trained on Alice. She didn't move her hand from the button. "Step away from the device," ordered the lead alien. Alice didn't move. "You came to our world uninvited. You attacked without provocation. You thought us weak." "Final calibration complete," announced the computer. The alien stepped forward. "Move away now, or die." Alice looked at the red button beneath her palm. "You wanted war," she said quietly. "We only wanted peace." She pressed the button. Nothing happened. No explosion. No energy blast. No visible effect at all. The aliens hesitated. Then the leader laughed. "Your weapon failed." Alice looked up with a strange calmness in her eyes. "It's not a weapon." The lead alien raised its weapon to fire. And then it vanished. Alice stared in amazement as the second alien soldier simply faded away. Not with violence or an explosion, but as if it had never existed at all. The alien's armor clattered to the floor, suddenly empty. The third alien backed away in confusion, looking at its hands. Its body became transparent, then disappeared completely. The weapon it had been holding fell to the ground with a clang. "It worked," Alice whispered. She rushed to help Jack, who was pulling himself up in the doorway. "What happened to them?" he asked, looking at the empty armor lying on the floor. "The quantum correction," Alice explained. "It's happening." In the corridor outside, more aliens vanished as they ran toward the lab. Their bodies simply stopped existing mid-stride, leaving their equipment behind. Jack limped to the control panel. "Is it affecting just the ones here?" Alice shook her head. "It's spreading at quantum speed. Everywhere." On the streets of Washington, D.C., Lisa Garrett watched in disbelief as the alien soldiers surrounding her group of survivors began to disappear one after another. Their vehicles, once filled with Imperial troops, now sat empty. People emerged from hiding places, looking around cautiously as alien weapons and equipment lay abandoned on the streets. Above them, massive Imperial ships still hovered, but they no longer fired. They were silent and still. "What's happening?" someone asked Lisa. She looked up at the motionless ships. "I think we won." In orbit, Captain Sam Collins and the crew of the U.S. Frontier watched through their viewports as the alien pilots inside the enemy fighters surrounding them simply vanished. "Captain," called Kelly from her station, "the Imperial flagship is hailing all frequencies. It sounds like panic." Sam opened the channel. There was chaos on the Imperial bridge. Aliens were disappearing mid-sentence. Control panels stood unmanned as officers vanished from their posts. Frontier to any Earth command. Sam transmitted. Something is happening to the alien forces. They're disappearing. There was no response from Earth, but Sam could see the effect spreading throughout the Imperial fleet. Ships drifted aimlessly as their crews vanished. "Sir," Kelly said in amazement, "the flagship is completely empty according to our scans. No life signs." Sam made a quick decision. "Prepare boarding teams. Let's secure that ship." On the Imperial flagship, only K-Vex remained on the bridge. He had watched in horror as Supreme Commander Talon and all others disappeared around him. The great warship was now a ghost vessel. K-Vex felt strange, looking down at his arms becoming transparent. He understood then, in his final moments, what was happening. "The quantum balance," he whispered. "They found the correction." He smiled, surprising himself with the emotion. "Well played, humans." Then K-Vex too vanished, leaving the bridge completely empty as the U.S. frontier approached to board. At the vault, Alice and Jack made their way to the surface. The mountain above was scared from Imperial weapons, but the attacks had stopped. The attacking ships hung motionless in the air. "All Imperial forces are gone," reported Admiral Miller over the emergency channel. "It's happening worldwide. They just disappeared." The President's voice joined the call. "Dr. Wright, what exactly did Project Singularity do?" Alice looked up at the empty alien ships. "It didn't destroy them, Mr. President. The button simply corrected a quantum imbalance. The Empire's technology and their physical forms violated the natural laws of our universe." "I don't understand," the President said. "Think of it like an immune system," Alice explained. "Our universe has natural laws. The Empire's technology broke those laws, creating an instability. The button just helped the universe fix itself." Jack looked confused. "But why didn't it affect humans?" "The Martian artifact held the key," Alice said. "Earth life, including humans, shares the same quantum signature as our universe. We belong here. They didn't." Reports flooded in from around the world. The pattern was the same everywhere. All alien invaders had vanished, leaving only their ships, weapons, and technology behind. In New York, people climbed onto an abandoned Imperial tank, waving an American flag. In Beijing, crowds gathered around empty alien vehicles. In London, children cautiously touched alien helmets lying on the ground. Alice's phone rang. It was Admiral Miller again. "Dr. Wright, the President is calling an emergency meeting. We need to discuss what happens next." He paused. "And what to do with all this alien technology they left behind." Alice looked at Jack. "I think humanity just inherited a galactic empire's worth of technology." Jack managed a smile despite his injuries. Not bad for pressing one button. 1 month after the button was pressed, the world had changed completely. Humanity stood at the beginning of a new era. Imperial ships, once signs of invasion, now served as research stations for eager scientists. Jack Peterson walked with a slight limp as he entered the transformed facility that had once been known as the Vault. Now it was the headquarters of the new Human Expansion Initiative. The mountain had been repaired with technology recovered from alien vessels. "Good morning, Mr. Peterson," said the security guard. "Dr. Wright is waiting for you in the main lab." Jack found Alice studying the Martian artifact. New equipment surrounded it, much of it clearly alien in design. She looked up and smiled when he entered. "How's the leg?" she asked. "Getting better," he replied. "The alien medical technology helps." Alice nodded. "We're learning more every day. Their technology is advancing our science by centuries." She led him to a large screen showing a map of the galaxy. Thousands of points of light indicated stars, with hundreds marked in blue. "These are all the worlds the Empire controlled," Alice explained. "Based on the data from their flagship, there were millions of humans taken from Earth over the years. They were used as labor on distant colonies. Jack stared at the map. Are they still there? Yes, Captain Collins confirmed it yesterday. The U.S. frontier used an Imperial jump drive to reach the nearest colony. The aliens are gone, but the human workers remained. They must be confused about what happened, Jack said. Alice nodded. Very. Some have been away from Earth for generations. They've only known life under Imperial rule. In orbit above Earth, the U.S. frontier now looked tiny beside the massive Imperial flagship it had claimed. Captain Sam Collins stood on the bridge of this enormous vessel, renamed the U.S. Hope. The alien technology had been partially adapted for human use. Status report, he asked Lieutenant Kelly. Jump drive is charged. Course to Colony 7 is plotted. She looked up from her station. This will be our 5th rescue mission. Sam nodded. How many people on this colony? Approximately 5,000 humans, according to Imperial records. They've been there for at least 3 generations. Sam looked out at the stars. Each jump took them farther from Earth than humans had ever traveled before, yet each journey brought lost people home. Proceed when ready, he ordered. In Washington, D.C., Lisa Garrett sat at a conference table with representatives from every major nation. The room was inside a former Imperial building that now served as the United Earth headquarters. The adaptation of alien technology is proceeding well, reported a scientist. We've already implemented their medical systems in major hospitals. Energy production has been revolutionized by their power sources. Lisa nodded. And the defense systems? Admiral Miller answered. We've secured 50 Imperial warships. They're being converted for human use. If another threat emerges, we'll be ready. The president looked around the table. What about expansion? The Empire left hundreds of worlds unoccupied. The first civilian colony ships will be ready in 6 months, Lisa said. Using Imperial transportation technology, we can reach suitable planets in days instead of generations. Outside the meeting room, crowds gathered to watch Imperial shuttles, now controlled by humans, ferry workers to orbital construction sites. Giant screens showed images from Colony 7, where the U.S. Hope had arrived to stunned and tearful humans who thought they would never see their ancestral home again. At the vault, Jack joined Alice at the window overlooking the mountains. The sky above was filled with strange new stars, Imperial ships in orbit, now staffed by human crews. Have you studied all the Imperial records? Jack asked. Alice shook her head. There's too much data. It will take decades to go through it all. But we found something interesting. She showed him a tablet with ancient-looking symbols. These matched the Martian artifact. What does it mean? The Empire encountered similar artifacts on other worlds, but could never understand them. Their scientists thought they were meaningless relics. Jack frowned. But they weren't. No, they were warnings. Alice swiped to a new image showing a star map. These artifacts were left by an ancient species that evolved beyond physical form. They seeded the universe with quantum correction devices as a safeguard against technologies that threatened universal balance. Like the Empire's technology, Jack said, beginning to understand. Alice nodded. Exactly. The button wasn't just a defense for Earth. It was part of a larger system protecting the entire universe. Jack looked up at the ships overhead. Do you think they're still out there? These ancient beings? Alice smiled. 1 year after the button was pressed, Earth had changed beyond recognition. Gleaming cities rose from the ruins of the Imperial attacks. Ships that once brought terror now carried humans to the stars. The technology left behind had ended poverty, disease, and energy shortages. Jack Peterson stood on the observation deck of the U.S. Hope, watching as the massive ship approached the beautiful blue-green planet. Alice stood beside him, her hand in his. Hard to believe it's only been a year, Jack said. Alice nodded. Humanity has come so far so quickly. Captain Sam Collins joined them at the window. Welcome to New Earth. The first human colony established by choice, not by force. Below them, the planet looked remarkably like Earth, with vast oceans and green continents. According to Imperial records, it had been marked for colonization but never settled. The first group of colonists is ready to descend, Sam told them. 5,000 volunteers. The best scientists, engineers, doctors, and farmers. Are you nervous? Jack asked Alice. She smiled. A little. Being appointed governor of humanity's first official colony is a big responsibility. You'll do great, Jack assured her, and I'll be right there with you. The shuttle ride to the surface was smooth. As they descended, Alice studied data on her tablet. The planet had been carefully chosen from the Imperial database. Perfect atmosphere, compatible biology, abundant resources. The first human city was already under construction, built by machines recovered from Imperial engineering vessels. As their shuttle landed, crowds of excited colonists cheered. Lisa Garrett was waiting on the landing pad. Now the head of the Human Expansion Initiative, she had arrived earlier to prepare for the main colonist group. "Welcome to New Earth," she said, embracing Alice. "Your new home is ready." They walked through the partially constructed city. Buildings rose in elegant curves, combining human design with Imperial technology. Parks and gardens were already planted with Earth species that would thrive in this similar environment. "How many more colonies are planned?" Jack asked Lisa. 20 in the next 5 years, she replied. "And we've already rescued humans from 15 Imperial labor colonies. They're adjusting to freedom again." Alice looked up at the unfamiliar stars appearing as the sun set. Any sign of other intelligent life out there? Lisa shook her head. Not yet. The Imperial records show they conquered or destroyed most other advanced civilizations they encountered. But the galaxy is vast. There must be others. That night, after the celebration dinner welcoming the colonists, Alice and Jack walked alone on a hill overlooking the new city. Lights twinkled below them, and strange but beautiful alien flowers glowed softly in the darkness. "I've been studying more of the Imperial records," Alice said quietly. "There's something I haven't told the others yet." Jack looked at her curiously. "What is it?" The Empire wasn't the only advanced civilization out there. There are records of another space-faring empire at the edge of the galaxy. The Imperial fleet was planning to confront them next. "Are they like the Empire?" Jack asked. "Conquerors." Alice nodded. "From what I can tell, yes. They expand by force, just as the Empire did." Jack frowned. "Could they threaten Earth?" "Eventually, perhaps. They're far away, but expanding. The records suggest they use similar technology to the Empire." "Similar technology," Jack repeated. "So the button would work on them too." Alice smiled. "Yes, but I've been thinking. The ancient beings who created the quantum correction didn't just leave us a defense. They left us knowledge." She showed him her tablet, displaying complicated equations and star maps. "I think they wanted us to learn, not just to survive. Their artifacts contain more than just the quantum correction technology. They contain a path to evolution." "What does that mean for us?" Jack asked. Alice looked up at the stars. "It means we have a choice. We can use the Imperial technology to become conquerors ourselves, or we can follow the path of the ancients, learning to exist in harmony with the universe." "And if we meet this other empire?" Jack asked. "We'll try diplomacy first," Alice said firmly. "We'll offer to share what we've learned. But if they choose war," she let the sentence hang. Jack nodded in understanding. One button changed everything. "Not the button," Alice corrected gently. "The choice we made. The Empire wanted war. We wanted survival. Now we want growth and knowledge." In the sky above them, a shooting star traced a path across the alien constellations. Jack put his arm around Alice as they watched it fade. "To the future," he said. "To humanity's future among the stars," Alice agreed.